Aginatimanandasya Aginanjana Shlakayo Chakshurunalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruvi Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone just like desired trees and are full of compassion for the fallen souls. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master who with the torchlight of knowledge has opened my eyes which were darkened by the blindness of ignorance. Namaste, Shri Bhakti Vijaya Acharya Shrimati Prema Bhakti Rasamade Param Vijay Prabhu Maha. Namah Vishnu Para Krishna Prashtai Bhutle Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurani Pacharne Namaste Shushunivadi Pasita Deshtarani. Namah Vishnu Para Radhika Priyatne Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Nityanamine. Shri Shri Deva Goswami Raja Ki Jai, Shri Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai, Shri Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai. So we're reading from the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the field of experience and the culture of wisdom. Arjuna inquired, please explain the distinction between the field of experience and the experiencer who is aware of it. In addition, help me to understand the ontology of the predominated aspect of reality in its relationship to the supreme predominator. Finally, let me know what is wisdom and what it is that the wise seek to understand. The Lord is all-knowing, then replied, my dear Kunteya, the material body is itself a field of experience, whereas a living being who owns the body and is conscious of its activities is actually quite distinct from it. I tell you with authority that the truly wise understand this distinction between the body and the conscious soul who inhabits it, and they also know that I am sitting alongside every soul, and am therefore also aware of what is being experienced in every field. I would like you now to listen carefully as I summarize the constituents of the field of experience, the nature of the transformations it undergoes, as well as its origins. Wise teachers throughout the ages have spoken very beautifully about the interrelationship between matter and spirit. The verses of the Holy Vedanta, which are presented in a most reasonable and authoritative manner, are especially illuminating in this regard. Solids, liquids, gases, fire, empty space, the veil over the ego, the power of intellection, matter in its potential state before specific manifestation, the faculties of hearing, touching, seeing, tasting, and smelling, the organ of speech, the legs with their power of locomotion, the dexterous hands, the computating mind, the organs of evacuation, the organs of reproduction, audible sounds, perceptible surfaces, visible forms, distinctive flavors, and the various odors, these 24 components are the constituent elements of the field of experience. As they undergo transformations and interact with one another, specific desires and aversions develop, pleasure and pain are experienced, a constant chain of thoughts and feelings are manifested, and various convictions and beliefs develop. The culture of wisdom necessitates a humble state of mind, freedom from hypocritical attitudes, absence of violent and aggressive feelings, patience, forgiveness, and innocence of heart. Those who hope to become wise must approach a genuine divine master, a wise professor who knows the truths of life. One should be clean and pure within and without, and fully determined to reach perfection. The impetuous senses must be kept under control, and the heart must be devoid of the tendency to exploit others. One must be able to look beyond the veil which covers the real identity of the self, and thus become free from the selfishness which causes isolation from all others. A realistic view of the miseries of perpetually being born and dying, becoming old and contracting disease should be developed. One should be detached from the things of the world and should see the whole universe as home and all living entities as dear relations. In this way, one must escape from the provincial mentality of the narrow-minded and embrace a universal view. Understanding that both desirable and undesirable events occur in due course of time, one should learn to be equal to both. Those who hope to be counted amongst the wise should reside in a quiet place above the hustle and bustle of the worldly minded, and engage there uninterruptedly in pure devotional practices, culturing a feeling of love for me within their hearts, eschewing the company of those with no interest in spiritual life, those who know clearly the value of spiritual realization, should devote their time to gaining a perfect understanding of the ancient and eternal path, which leads to wisdom and to the vision of absolute truth. To adopt any other course besides the one which I have just outlined will cause one to remain within the realms of darkness and ignorance. I shall speak now of the eternal spirit, for it is knowledge of the spirit which constitutes the proper subject matter for study. Those who come to know that the individual spiritual personalities are all eternal, subordinate directly to me, and transcendental to the mundane laws of cause and effect, are enabled by such understanding to drink the nectar of life everlasting. The Supreme Spiritual Person is all-pervasive, with hands extended everywhere, accepting the offerings of all and awarding all benedictions, with legs extended everywhere, walking alongside each soul, as well as inhabiting empty space, and with faces pointed in all directions, seeing everything and hearing every sound that is made within creation. Sensory perception originates with the Supreme Sentient Person, who employs no mundane senses, although perceiving everything, and who is never implicated in the affairs of the world, although being the sustainer of all that lives. This all-pervasive Supreme Person is the ultimate source of all the binding forces of material nature, and yet remains unaffected by any of them. Everyone should see the Supreme Divine Person within their own hearts, as well as in the outside world, in all that lives and moves, and in all inanimate objects. Although in one sense inconceivable and far away from everyone, the Transcendental Supreme Person is, at the same time, the nearest and dearest friend of all. Although the Supreme Divine Person is by nature indivisible, infinite divisions manifest inconceivably, in order that each individual being may be dealt with personally. The Supreme Person alone supplies the necessities of life to all, and controls both evolution and disintegration. Whatever emanates light derives its luminescence from the Supreme Divine Person, who is without any trace of darkness, and who, as the perfect goal of all spiritual inquiry, remains seated within the heart of every living being. I conclude here my analysis of the field of experience and its experiencer, the culture of wisdom and its proper object. It should be noted, however, that only those devoted souls who possess pure love for me shall be able to come to a proper understanding of all this, and thereby enter into intimacy with me. Material nature has no beginning in time, and neither do the living beings. All of the specific qualities manifested within the material elements, as well as all of the transformations which matter undergoes as it changes states, arise as permutations of the essential material substance, the predominated aspect of reality. Although the changes which each body and mind go through in the course of time may be directly traced to the natural forces inherent within this essential material substance, each living being is in fact personally responsible for the feelings of joy and sorrow which they experience. Every person living in the world is encased within the material substance, and by associating with its various binding forces, they enter in series into a wide variety of auspicious and inauspicious wombs, and encounter a great range of painful and pleasurable circumstances. Within each body, alongside the individual soul, the Supreme Person resides, witnessing all events, giving guidance as the inner voice of conscience, and remaining always as the ultimate enjoyer and controller of everything. The Supreme Personality is transcendental to the material substance and all its permutations. All who come to understand the transcendental position of the Supreme Divine Person, their own position as an eternal spiritual person, as well as the nature of the essential material substance, and its various qualities and transformations, will never be forced to take birth again within darkness. Some souls gain the vision of the Supreme Person by entering into contemplative trance, and perceive the transcendental realm directly, with developed spiritual vision. Others enter into a systematic analysis of all phenomena, and in this way hope to trace out the essential nature of the universe. Some souls practice a variety of spiritual processes aimed at entering into communion with the Supreme Truth, whilst there are others who hope to understand the Absolute by carrying out devotional activities within the world. Many persons who languish without spiritual understanding take up the sacred path of divine service after beginning to hear about the Supreme Person from those who are already conversant with the topics of transcendental life. Because they show an inclination to hear from authoritative sources, they also enter into everlasting life. O most worthy heir of the great King Bharat, please try to understand that the field of experience with its 24 subdivisions and the living beings who are aware of the field, due to interacting with it, produced by their combinations all the phenomena, both animate and inanimate, that fill up creation. Those who see clearly are able to perceive that the Supreme Divine Person loves every living being equally and remains forever alongside each individual. Such seers of the truth know that the Supreme Person and the infinity of living beings who are part and parcel of the Supreme remain unchanged despite all mundane transformations and are indestructible even though all else may be destroyed. Those who are able to see the Supreme Person everywhere, as well as in the hearts of everyone, never cause themselves grief and very quickly arrive at the supreme goal of life by entering into their eternal homeland, the sacred realm of the Supreme Person. The perfect vision of such souls leads them to understand that it is material nature which is responsible for all mundane phenomena, whereas the individual spiritual persons, being non-material, are never directly affected by mundane changes and are never personally productive of them. Such souls reach the platform of perfect understanding after coming to an awareness from authoritative evidence that all diversities have their origin in a single unitary source. Aware of the eternal and free from the contamination of mundane association, the individual soul can open up the doors to the region of infinite transcendence, even while dwelling within the material body. Just as the most subtle of elements, the ether, permeates the more gross ones, although remaining unmixed with any of them, so the eternal spiritual persons pervade the material bodies, but are never changed in their inherent natures by such association. My dear Arjuna, just as the shining sun pervades the entirety of the creation with its brilliant rays, so the living soul pervades the body with the light of consciousness. Anyone whose eyes are illuminated with true wisdom and who understands the distinction between unconscious matter and conscious spirit is able to gain freedom from material influences and enter into the realm of perfect transcendence.